Let's talk about something that amateur engine builders such as myself sometimes overlook. And of course, I'm talking about quench, or some of you might call it squish. Alright, the four-cycle process, or the four-stroke of internal combustion engines. You have suck, squeeze, bang, blow. Yes, that may sound a little dirty, but it's how I remember it. First part of the cycle, you have your piston up here, and it starts traveling down, alright? And your intake valve opens. This is going to be your suck. When that happens, it's going to pull in air and fuel. Then you have your squeeze. Your intake valve is going to shut, the piston is going to travel back up, and it's going to compress that air-fuel mixture. Bang is pretty easy. Your spark plug will ignite, it'll shoot the piston back down, then your exhaust valve is going to open as the piston comes back up, and that's going to be your blow, and it's going to shoot the exhaust out. So where does quench line up in all that? Well, I'll show you. Quench is going to be this area here. As the piston's coming back up, as you can see, the combustion chamber doesn't fully encompass the piston. This area right here below the combustion chamber is going to be your quench, or your squish area. Here's an old set of heads to show you a little further. So this is my head gasket, this is my combustion chamber, and this is going to be my quench area. Essentially what quench is responsible for is as the piston is traveling up, it is going to basically shoot that air-fuel mixture high velocity into the combustion chamber, atomize it, and let it burn more efficiently. The more quench you have, the more velocity you're going to have with that air-fuel mixture, and therefore more atomization. So what is a good amount of quench to have? Well, anywhere between 35 thousandths and 45 thousandths of an inch. Typically, that's where you're going to get your most efficient burns. If you run greater than that, let's say over 60 thousandths, you could run into improper atomization and possible detonation. You run any less, let's say 25 thousandths of an inch, you run the possibility of, if there's even just the smallest amount of play in your piston in the cylinder, it could smack your cylinder head, and then you start running into bigger issues. So you might be asking yourself, how do I calculate my quench? Well, the first measurement you're going to want to take is figure out how far down or above deck height your piston sits in your engine. After that, you're going to want to get the compressed gasket thickness, and then you're going to want to add those two together. Once you figure out how close your piston is to your cylinder head, you take that number, and then you find out your quench. I have to verify my measurements, but my pistons are supposed to be sitting about 15 thousandths of an inch down in my engine. My compressed gasket thickness on these gaskets are 20 thou. Therefore, I should have 35 thousandths of an inch on my quench. Now, there's a lot more smarter people out there that could probably explain this way better than I did and go more in depth, but essentially, that's what quench or squish is, and it is very important when building your engine.